name's Brandt Passalacqua. I'm the director of Breathing Deeply Yoga Therapy School, and I am here with one of our C-IAYT Advanced Program graduates, Melissa Russell. And we're here to discuss a client she worked with in our advanced practicum before she graduated. Thanks for being with us, Melissa.
Thank you, Brandt. I'm happy to be here.
So you're going to talk about a client you worked for with depression, correct?
Correct.
Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about her, how she came to you, and what you saw, when you first did your intake. We'll start there.
I found this client through an email that I sent out to a bunch of colleagues saying that I was looking for practicum clients. And one of them had a daughter who was in college, 21 years old, and was experiencing depression and anxiety and was looking to try yoga therapy as a solution.
And how did you see her, live, on Zoom? How did you work with her?
I worked with her on Zoom.
Okay. So tell us what she told you and how you worked with her.
So this client told me that they had been experiencing anxiety for a number of years around social interactions when they were experiencing any presentation. And about a year ago, they had found a therapist that they really liked. And the therapist had said that underlying thing about this client's experience was depression. And once that depression was named, the client could really feel that they had been carrying this sense of heaviness for a really long time. And so again, about a year in with the diagnosis of depression, and they wanted to work on the depression and hoping that the anxiety would also be relieved a bit. So from yoga therapy.
Hmm. And did they give you any specific symptoms, were they more specific than that in terms of what they wanted?
With wanting from yoga therapy or about the symptoms
Yeah,
themselves?
about the symptoms themselves.
So with the symptoms themselves, again, it was heaviness, a feeling like they didn't want to do anything, a feeling like they didn't really want to get up in the morning, um, hopelessness. And that was pretty much their experience. It was especially acute between 3 and 7. So they were finding more depression in the afternoons, and also depression when they were alone and were not
Mm.
connected to people. Definitely more when they weren't in community.
Okay. So why don't you and then yeah, tell us what you did with them. Like what was the practices and how did you work with it?
So this client had some experience with yoga. They were actually a yoga teacher, and that definitely was a, a positive in us working together. So I was able to kind of go through whether they were looking for more movement or whether they would like more of a breathing practice or a meditation practice. At that time, they weren't practicing at all, even though they had had experience with yoga. And we decided that they would like to start with movement, that they had had a movement practice in their past, and that getting back to some kind of movement in their day would be something that they wanted to do. So we started with movement, and we decided that we would do a practice where they would move and breathe. So coming in and out of poses, really syncing breath with movement, as well as hold the poses. So after they moved and breathed through some rounds, they would hold the pose for a period of time.
Mhm.
And
And did you decide that based on your model or what she wanted?
I decided that based on a doshic model that I learned in the Breathing Deeply school that involves working with people with depression. And that oftentimes, in some instances, when people are experiencing depression, holding poses can relieve that depression when done in a certain way. And the moving and breathing part that we were doing before is not only balancing to the person, but it also enables them to get stronger in a way that isn't as taxing, so that we could move and breathe out of these poses and then hold to the point, to a point where they were really strengthening, but where they also felt strong before because they were moving and breathing out of these poses.
Okay. And so yeah, tell us how many times you met with her, what she did practice wise and what her results were. Let's get a kind of view of that.
So we met for 3 months. And when we first started, my client was doing the practice that we designed. It was about 25 minutes. And at first, the practice was a little bit too hard for her. So she was holding the poses for longer, and it was making her not want to do the practice. So we were able to really back out of that and say that it was okay to hold them for less. So we adapted the practice, and we're holding the poses for, say, 3 to 6 breaths instead of 6 to 12. And that really encouraged her to want to do the practice more. So she started by doing it in the afternoon. I had told you that she was experiencing more depression during that time. So at first we thought that might be a good time to do the practice, but she was not feeling motivated. And we backed the practice up to be done in the morning. So again, we decided the holds wouldn't be as long. We would change the practice to the morning. And she was doing it up to 5 to 6 times a week. So really enjoying the practice and finding that immediately that she was feeling more lively, wanted to go out more, wanted to take walks, wanted to engage more with people, and also did feel some relief from the anxiety that she was experiencing.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was almost immediately.
And then was that her choice to do it 5 to 6 times a week, or had you told her to do that, or how did that come to be?
I had told her to do it a minimum of 4,
Hmm.
and that she could do it every day if she was feeling encouraged. And once we kind of edited the practice to have it be in the morning and with the shorter holds, she was doing it 5 days a week.
Great. So she was feeling better, obviously.
Yeah.
And is that how it ended, or did she just keep doing that same practice, or did you adjust it at all?
After a certain amount of time, my client wanted a practice where on the mornings that, so they were becoming very comfortable with the 5 day a week practice, but they were also finding that as their schedule changed around, there would be some mornings when they couldn't do the practice. And we worked on a breathing practice. We did a practice where we held the exhales.
Hmm. And
And
did you find benefit with that?
she did find a lot of benefit with that. And that was an interesting one because often um, when we're trying to strengthen someone and feel strong, we might encourage them to hold the inhale. But since this client was experiencing anxiety along with the depression, um, the the breath practice, we were holding the exhale is what we went with, and that enabled her to have some flexibility with the practices. And on the weeks that she couldn't do the 5 days a week and she could do 3, she was still able to hold her balance and still feel the relief from the depression and the anxiety.
Great. So what did she say in the end? Like, what, you worked with her 3 months? How did it kind of land?
Yeah. So in the end, she wrote me a lovely quote at the school, at the Breathing Deeply school. We're encouraged to get our clients to send in um, their thoughts about working with a yoga therapist. And in this case, I sent her a questionnaire, and she wrote back and she said this. She said, "I'm not going to lie. I was skeptical in the beginning that yoga therapy could ease any of my problems, but I am absolutely blown away. In the past 2 months of doing the yoga practice consistently and working with Melissa, I have been much less anxious and my depression has eased immensely. I feel so much lighter. Melissa crafted such a potent and restorative practice, and I feel so empowered to have a daily practice in my life."
Hmm. Couldn't ask for a better review, and she was definitely lucky to have you. And I just want to say, after seeing you work with her and so many other students in the practicum, you're a very capable yoga therapist, but also really easy to be around. And if I needed a yoga therapist, I would definitely call you. So I hope anyone who's looking for help and is suffering would feel comfortable reaching out to you. So thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you.
It was great because a lot of it was during COVID, and I was able to meet with people online twice a week and hear about the clients that they were working with and also share the experiences I was having with my clients. the program helped me to find clients. So when you first come into the program, you don't have a base of clients for yoga therapy. So the program not only gave me clients through their sources, but also really taught me how to go out and find my own clients. So I'm someone who comes from a background where I haven't worked with individuals as a yoga teacher or a therapist. And I was really grateful for Brandt, especially for being able to really help me walk through how to get those clients through emails, through contacts, through other professionals working in the wellness industry. So the program was really helpful for me in that way. So the community that I mentioned before, the support of Brandt and finding clients, and also having Brandt to really support me through having my first clients. So when you first go out to work with people as a yoga therapist, you can be a little nervous. And I was really grateful that I felt like Brandt was on calls twice a week. So whenever I had a client that had a question about or was wondering, um, what I should do, or just to run by what I was thinking I would do and get some feedback, Brandt was there, and I felt really supported in that way.